I can't help but wonder what if the last 50 years or so has been just a bubble for the economy and for the stock market. And I know it goes back longer than 50 years, but just hear me out for just a second. It's interesting because we can sit here all day long and say, look, the last 50 years, stocks have dominated everything else, and there's no getting around that. U.S. stocks have just kicked butt, took names. Does that mean it has to? I don't know. And especially when you see this chart, you can't help but wondering. Ugh. So let's go into this. This is gold price for a stock market over 100 years. All right. Now the blue is the stock market, and they're using the Dow Jones here. They're using the Dow Jones. All right, and they're not adjusting for inflation. So it's not inflation adjusted, which means there's you have to knock off inflation to get the real return. Anyway, so we go back to 1917, and we say here's a Dow. So we start right here, right, basic right there. So the S&P is 27% ahead of gold. Remember now, gold had the ceiling put on it, the glass ceiling, if you will. So it couldn't have any structure. It was flat based on whatever the fixed price was of the FDR times. And then when they introduced the Federal Reserve Board, 1913, I think. All right. So here's the S&P 500, or the Dow, 62%. Gold's up 2%. All right. So from the beginning here of April until June 25th, gold is up 8%. The S&P or the Dow is up 132%. Then we go to 19. It'll be interesting. Watch this. See how that flips over right there? Right there. Dow is actually down from where it was in 1915. Yeah, so the Dow is actually down from where it was in 1915. It's down 21%, where gold is still up, but only by 8%. So gold hasn't changed at all. All right, so then we go to 1936. The Dow's up basically 200%, twice. Gold's up almost doubling. Gold stays at 80%. Dow's down to 126. Right here, 1942 is flipped. Where was that? Right there, 1942. Gold is up 77%. The Dow is only up 76%. So you can kind of see how that's, what I'm saying? So basically, the first 30 years there, gold did better than the markets. And after the war, the Dow up 262%, gold 82%. Now right here at the end of the 1950s, Dow is up 300%, gold is up 82%. Right here in the 1960s, right there, Dow's up 1,000%, gold's only up 83. All right, so that's good. 1,000% is good. Don't get me wrong. This is not logarithmic. No. Anyway, so then we keep going here, and now we'll go to 1973, right at the end of 1974. The Dow is only up, right, look at that. The Dow is up 1,600 and the gold is up 510. So after all that time, the Dow's only up 3 times what the gold was. In fact, if we go right here, where was it? I thought I saw it flip over. It's not. Did I see it flip over? Right there. Becomes pretty doggone close. Right there. Right there. The gold is at 854. The Dow's at 990%. Flip out to here. Gold is at 3,159. The Dow's at 1,500. So gold has actually doubled the rate of return of the Dow going back to 1915. By the time 1980 rolls around. Now, let's keep going, because there's a point to my method here. And then, so you can see right here, 1982, that's the end of that was the beginning of the most wealth that's ever been created in history right there, 1982. It's just flat. Now, this is not logarithmic, I get it, but still look at that. Just this, you can't help but just say it was, pretty, slow but steady for the first 50 years. Well, it was 60 years really, and then 65 years. Then just now gold has taken off, but not nearly to the extent as that right there. Now that's the Dow, and again, I'm not sure if that's including dividends reinvested or not. The historical percentage return for the Dow, I don't know. But then I looked at this. I compared the Dow to the S&P 500, and they're both from a point to point. The S&P 500, 5.9% of the returns from price appreciation. The rest was from dividends, where the Dow was 5.6% was from the price appreciation. So the S&P 500 and the Dow were kind of following the same lines here. S&P a little bit better, but not. I mean, and if you do that compounding, it's significantly better. But where I'm going with this is look at that. Is that a bubble? And then let's go back to my man, what's his name, Daniel Kuhlberg stuff here, and let's do we're gonna say, just for simplicity, $10,000 in the S&P 500, and we're not gonna have any money coming out, and we're gonna start that in 1915. Oops, it doesn't go back that far. Oh man. Oh. We don't want anything there. We want nothing here. Boink. Oh, we don't want, there we go. We don't want that. We want S&P 500. And we're going to go back and just get a gauge here. All right. And we'll go back to 1915. And we're going to go to 1970. 1915. Let's see if I keep stopping. I don't know how to make it go back more than 30 years. Man. All right. So we go 1915. How much? $10,000 in the S&P 500 at the end of 1940 was worth 19. What was that? What year was that? 44,101. So now we're going to go back to 1945. There we go. And we had 101 in there. All right. And at the end of 1960s, that'd be right here, 1969, is worth $2 million. That's pretty significant, not gonna lie there. So that was so over those 1945 to freaking 1969, and the market just took off like a bat out of hell. All right, so we got 70 years. What if that's just because, I mean, we're the only game in town after World War II. Like, there's literally nothing else out there. The commies were dead to rights. Europe is dead to rights. Latin America is dead. I mean, it's us or bust. 1980s, we beat the commies again. This time we beat them across the board, where before we just, they had no economy, but we didn't know that back then. And then we got rid of some pretty significant regulations to open up the economy. But then we also went more to a Wall Street versus Main Street, and we're kind of paying the price for that now. So the gains of the 50 to 70 years we've seen, can that continue on in the foreseeable future? I mean, yes, for the foreseeable future, sure, but that's some significant. I mean, look at that. I wish this could make it logarithmic. That'd be sweet. I'm telling you, man. History is just, there's no growth until the industrial age or capitalism. History is fiefdoms, oligarchs. History is not what we are used to. It's just not, man. And I'm not trying to be a pessimist here. I'm just wondering. I said, maybe it's such an explosive growth the last 50 to 70 years. Maybe that's just a bubble. Maybe it's inevitable that happened, but it's not, and no inevitability that it'll continue like that going forward. I mean, who's to say that? I don't know. I mean, I don't want to be someone who says, "Oh, we found all the things we could possibly," like the guy from the patent office in 1895. Nothing else can be invented, whatnot. Or like Paul Samuelson said in 1985, basically all the growth we've already got all the growth. There's basically no more creation that can be done, and yet it's nuts. But I'm just sitting there thinking, maybe the days of the explosive bubble-ish growth are behind us. And just because what looked good the last 50 years, we'll look back 50 years from now and say, yeah, that didn't work out like we anticipated. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. So anyway, the reason I say it is because I don't want people to say don't buy any gold because the last 50 years gold hasn't done anything relative to stocks. But I don't think that's. I don't think you can make that case. I still say at the end of the day, a 50-year track record. When you think about the overall economic world with human beings, 50 years is nothing, man. It's nothing. Just because it happened for 50 years, I'm 50 years old, doesn't mean it will happen. It does not mean that. But the one thing that does happen is you need a place to live, you need food, you need water, you need something to trade with gold, freaking crops. But the monetary value system doesn't have to stay, and that's what our capitalist system based on. It doesn't have to stay, solvent. Yeah, just something to think about. I'd like to hear your thoughts about it. Thanks now.